morning, everyone. Welcome to Danbury Hospital. We're going to be talking today about making decisions. What kind of decisions are healthy to make and what kinds of decisions are not healthy to make. My name is Mary Ronan. I'm a registered nurse with a clinical specialty in reproductive health. And we're going to be not just learning all the things that I know as a nurse, but I'm going to be teaching you what I've learned during the last 10 years visiting about 8,000 students your age every year. And I'm going to share with you some of the things that they've taught me, as well as some of the things that I know just from being a nurse. And one of the things that we're going to be taking a real close look at today is how do the TV shows we like, the movies we watch, the video games we play, how do all of those things influence how we make decisions? And they do. It's hard to imagine, but they really do affect how we decide for ourselves what we will and will not be doing. If your favorite television shows and your favorite movies have lots of characters that are really sexually active on them, it's easy to imagine that everybody's having sex. Seems like it's something everybody does. Well, it's not something everybody does, but we get the feel of that from the movies and the television programs that we enjoy and we watch. So what popular culture does to us is it does something that's called erosion. Has anybody ever been to the beach? Raise your hand if you've ever been to the beach. Okay, so let's make a pretend journey today. We all came here this morning for this exciting day, and when we got here, we decided we weren't going to videotape. What we were going to do was get on the bus and go to Myrtle Beach. Okay? So we all showed up here this morning at Danbury Hospital, and instead of getting off your school buses and coming into the building, we got off your school buses, got on coach buses, and off we go to Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. And we spent a week there. We had the best time ever. The weather was fabulous. We swam every day. We played lots of miniature golf. We really had a lot of fun. And while we were there, every single day, waves came up on the shore, took a few little grains of sand, and then went back out to the ocean. And we never noticed this happen. We just were noticing what a great time we were having. So we spent a whole week there, and then got on the buses and came home. And because we had such a good time, we decided that in 10 years, we're going to have a reunion in Myrtle Beach. So you guys all went and grew up, did all your growing up, went to college, got your jobs. I raised my kids. We met back here 10 years from now, got on the bus, and headed down to Myrtle Beach. Now, in the 10 years that we were away, no one did anything to save the beach. And all day, every day, waves were coming up on the beach and taking away sand. All day. And no one protected the dunes. Nobody planted the grass on the beach. No one did anything to save the beach. And 10 years went by. And we get on the bus and we drive down to Myrtle Beach, and when we get there, the beach is completely different. It's totally changed from the way it was before. It's not nearly as nice. It's narrower. So much of the beach is missing. And we say, what happened to our beach, this great beach? Well, what happened to our beach was erosion. And erosion happens when every single day a little bit of land gets taken away. And that's what television and movies and music do to us. We start off as babies being raised up by our families with very specific ideas about what kind of grown-up are you going to be, what sort of adult are you going to be. And as you watch lots of movies and you watch lots of TV programs and you listen to lots of music, that gets changed the same way the beach gets changed by the waves. The more you watch, the harder it is to make good decisions. Now, am I saying to you, don't ever watch TV, don't ever watch movies, it's bad, it's evil, you're not supposed to do it? No, that's not what I'm saying. But what I am saying is watch carefully. Pick what you watch. You know, movies that are rated R are marketed to you guys. Movies that are meant for someone who's 17 is marketed to 14-year-olds. and it puts thoughts in your brains that you never would have had if you weren't sitting in that theater that night. I worry about how those thoughts are going to change the decisions that you make, because when you watch TV and when you watch the movies and people make bad choices, they don't suffer from them. They come back to life on those video games. No one catches HIV on Friends. But in real life, those are the things that occur. In real life, those are the changes that will happen for you. And those are the issues that we're going to be taking a look at today. I'm going to be asking you some questions, and I'm going to ask you to raise your hand when you have an answer. And the first thing that we're going to be talking about today is, how do you make a decision? The first thing we want to take a look at is, what's the difference between a good decision and a bad decision? Okay? So, who knows? Who knows the difference between a good decision and a bad decision?
A good decision will help you.
Okay, so good will help, and bad will hurt. Very
Theoretically, a good decision is kind of morally correct.
Okay. How would you know it was morally correct?
Comparing the two choices.
Okay, so we're going to say this is morally correct. And you have to look at the other decision also to do that? Sometimes. Okay. What else? What do you know?
Sometimes a good decision can seem not as fun or less entertaining than a bad decision.
So it might not feel right off the front like it's a good decision, huh? Okay. So it may be less fun. It actually the good decision may be, the bad decision may be what you want to do. Right? It's easy for that to happen. What do you think?
A bad decision is something you're probably not going to be able to tell your parents.
Oh, very good. Okay, so you'd have to, those are those secrets you wrote down, right? You'd have to keep a bad decision secret. It's hard to keep a secret from the people you eat dinner with every night, isn't it?
A bad decision will be more tempting.
Sometimes that's true, isn't it? Yep. So a bad decision will be more tempting than a good decision. I think often that's true, especially with our subject that we're talking about today. We know that's the truth. What do you think?
A bad decision will catch up with you.
Okay, so a bad decision will eventually catch up with you, and you'll have an undesirable consequence. It'll catch up. Okay. What do you think?
Bad decisions can seem like good decisions.
It can, can't it? Sometimes it's really hard to know. You know, there's a word for that. A bad decision can seem like a good decision when you make it. There's a word that we use in faith circles when we talk about how do we know what God wants us to do. And the word we use then is called discernment. And I think that's exactly what you're talking about. How do you know? Sometimes it's very, very hard to tell. At your age, sometimes it's easiest to tell, well, if I do this, will I get in trouble or not? Eventually, you won't need to wonder about if you get in trouble. You'll just feel clearer about it yourself, whether it's right or wrong. But that discernment is really very, very tricky. And I think it's tricky. We all wonder about that. Even those of us that are adults in the room, sometimes we wonder, is this really what God wants me to be doing? What do you think?
Bad decisions are easier to make.
A bad decision is easier to make. Okay. Sometimes it doesn't feel like you're making a decision at all. You're just caught up in something, isn't it? You're with your friends, you're going along with something, and the next thing you know, you're doing something that you really don't think you should be doing. And you don't actually consciously feel like you've made the decision. This is very, very true in your teenage years when you go to parties and kids are drinking. This is very, very true when you have a girlfriend or a boyfriend and you start off kind of hugging and kissing and you like the way that feels. It's not like you're consciously making decisions to do what's wrong, but you're caught up in that. And what now is the time in your life to start doing is making the decisions, avoiding just getting caught up. How many of you have ever found yourself someplace where there's things going on and you're thinking to yourself, I maybe shouldn't be involved in this. This is maybe something I shouldn't be doing. How many of you found yourself in that situation? Wow, yeah, by 8th grade. Okay. How many of you have found yourself in that situation and you were able to get out of it? Oh, boy, that's really good. How many of you found yourself in that situation and you really couldn't quite get out of it? You thought you should, but it was too hard. Yep, very good. This is what happens. This is what's happening now. 8th grade is a big, big decision-making year. 8th grade and 9th grade. And one of the things that helps to make good decisions is practice at making good decisions. So when you practice making good decisions about the small things, all right? Let me give you a little example. You aren't in school today. You're here. So you probably got homework last night. And let's just pretend you did. You got some homework last night, and you had to have it done. Now, when you go back to school tomorrow, you're going to have an exam. And last night, you probably should have studied for this exam, but the phone rang, and it was someone you really like to talk to on the phone. Okay? Now, that's a simple good decision, bad decision. What would the good decision be? The phone rings, you're supposed to study for a test. What's the good decision?
Not to pick it up.
Not to pick it up, to do the studying, isn't it? Okay. What's the likely decision?
Keep talking.
You're going to keep talking. Okay. You know you ought to be putting down the phone and doing that studying, right? You know it, but somehow you just have to get those last few words of conversation in. And that kind of decision-making starts to establish a pattern for you. You make a habit of making good decisions or making bad decisions. If you consistently practice making decisions that take you in the wrong direction, they take you away from doing well, they take you into a place where you're going to have to keep secrets, they take you someplace where you might get hurt or you might experience a consequence, they take you someplace where it's going to catch up with you. I want you guys to know something. Your parents will always find out. I don't know how. I'm a parent myself. You always know. Somehow, someone tells you, you get the scoop, you find out what's going on, it's going to catch up with you. So if you started now, here we are at the beginning of 8th grade, if you started now practicing making small, good decisions. Okay? Say every morning in your household you have a big fight because you're running late for school. Okay? Every morning it's total chaos. You don't have your clothes ready. You didn't prepare yourself the night before. Everybody's yelling at each other as you're going out the door to get on the bus every morning. You hate that. It's a terrible way to start the day. So a good decision would be, why don't you set your alarm clock 15 minutes earlier and start getting dressed and stop having fights every morning. Okay? That's a good practice. Say you get to school every single day and you don't have your homework done. You're making some bad decisions, right? If you come to school every single day without your homework, that means every single night you're deciding not to do it. You want to start to change those decisions. And every night, sit down and start to do your homework. And you get powerful. You become stronger. Each good decision you make allows you to make another good decision. Decisions can take you in one of two directions. You can get on the right road, or you can get on the wrong road. That's it. There's two paths. Okay? There's a lot of little ways to go off either one of those roads, but you want to be on the road in the first place that's going to take you closer to your future instead of further away from it. You want a decision that's going to make more peace in your family instead of less peace in your family. You want to make a decision that's going to make your life run better for you instead of make your life more difficult for you. And there's 4 things to keep in mind to help you to make a good decision. The first thing is that your important decisions need to be made in advance. How many of you already know, yep, I'm going to college, no, I'm not going to college? How many of you already know that? Raise your hand. Okay, lots of you. Now, college is a solid 4 years away, 4.5 years away, and that's excellent forward thinking. I want to go to college. So if you know you want to go to college, you're going to make decisions about getting your homework done and doing your studying and working to get your grades. It's going to help you to make those decisions. None of you are going to decide to go to college the Labor Day after you graduate from high school. You're already going to know about college. You're going to know where you're going long before then. You're not going to decide who you're going to get married to the morning of your wedding. You're going to know that in advance. Your important decisions have to be made in advance, and the decision to be sexually active is a more important decision than the decision about where you go to college. It's a more important decision, and you're going to learn why today. Number 2 is that you need to be sure that you know how you feel. You understand your feelings. Your feelings really count. They're not something to ignore. They matter. They affect how you decide things. So if you know how you feel, and you have that as a given, it makes it a little easier to make decisions. Because haven't we said that you're probably going to feel like you want to make the bad ones, right? Those seem like the easiest ones to make. You're going to feel like you're going to want to make the bad decisions, so you have to be able to recognize this. Now, when we're talking about the subject of sex, you need to know, how do you feel about this person who's your partner? Is this someone that you're going to be married to when you're 80 years old? Is this someone that you're going to have a home with and have babies with and raise a family with? Or is this someone that's really important to you and really special to you right now, but maybe not forever? Is this someone who you feel very close with as a 10th grader or an 11th grader, but maybe this isn't the person you're going to marry? Is this someone who's kind of popular and kind of cute, and being with them will get you in the right group, no matter how you feel? Or is this someone that you've had too much to drink, and they've had too much to drink, and you both just happen to be in the right place at the right time, and you don't have any feelings for them at all? You need to know how you feel. That's number 2. Number 3 is you need to understand that your feelings are not enough information. All your feelings tell you is how you feel. They don't tell you anything else. You need to know the facts. I'll give you a little college example of this. I have a son who's a senior in high school, and he's getting ready to go to college. And so we've spent the last year and a half looking at colleges. And something happens when we go to schools. When we drive onto the campus, Steve knows right away whether he likes the school or not. Immediately. Some places we've gone onto the campus and we haven't even gotten out of the car. We've driven in, driven around the campus. We've gone to park the car, and he said, I don't like it here. So we don't even get out of the car. We just drive home. Other places we've gone to, we've driven onto the campus, and we've gotten onto the campus, and he's loved it. He loved the way it looked. He loved the kids. He loved everything he saw. That was how he felt. We would never want to send him to a college he didn't love any more than you would ever want to be sexually intimate with someone you didn't love. But we need to know, can Steve get in? Are his grades good enough? Are his SATs good enough? Can we afford to send him there? If we can't afford to send him there, can he get a scholarship? Do they offer his major? We need to gather our facts so that just loving the college is one part, but the fact that the college is good for him is the information that we have to have. And it's the same thing with you guys making the decision about sex. You have to know how you feel. But just knowing how you feel isn't going to tell you if you're making a good decision or not. So number 3 is gather your facts. And that's my job with you today. We're going to be gathering the facts. And number 4, and there are some places in this country where number 4 is as hard as it could possibly be. Number 4 is never, ever, ever, under any circumstances, change how you feel and then make an important decision like having sex. The reason people drink alcohol, the reason people use any substance at all, is because those substances change how we feel. If they didn't do that, no one would use them. So if you go to a party and you have something to drink, if you go to a party and you use any other kind of substance at all, if you smoked a little weed or took some pills or did anything there, and then made a decision about having sex, you haven't made a decision at all. You made it at the last minute. You made it just based on your feelings, and you made it based on feelings that will change. You'll regret this decision. Now, one of the things to really remember about making decisions about sex is that the person who has the biggest regret is you. If you make a mistake, you carry this with you. You remember it. You can't sort of do whatever you want to in high school and then grow up and never think about high school again. The things you do in high school come with you into your adulthood. The things you do in high school influence decisions you make when you're a father, when you're a mother. The consequences of being sexually active come with you into your adulthood. And regret is something that can be kind of tough to live with, and you're the one that has it. So this is a decision that's yours. It's not anybody else's. It's yours to make. Don't find yourself caught up in it. Don't find yourself drifting into it. Think about it clearly. Know what you'll do. And I'm going to ask you to do that in a very specific way. Today is Tuesday. I am going to ask you to know before Sunday whether or not you are going to be a sexually active teenager. I want you to make the decision this week. And we're going to make the decision based on the stuff that we're going to be looking at today. I want you to make the decision when you have all your clothes on. I want you to make the decision when you're not with your boyfriend or your girlfriend. I want you to make the decision when you're totally clear-headed. And I want you to make this decision about you. This isn't a decision that you make about your partner. This is a decision that you make about you. Who are you? Are you a teenager who's going to be sexually active? Are you a teenager who's going to be able to wait? I want you to think about yourself, and I want you to think about what decision you need to make right now this week to help you stay on the good side of this instead of the bad side. So we're going to start, and we're going to start based on a promise. I can promise every single one of you in this room today that you're going to have the chance to have sex before you get married. You're going to have the chance. Actually, you're probably going to have the chance to have sex before you graduate from high school. Some of you are going to be so busy doing so many fun things. You got your sports going, you're doing theater, you're dancing and doing music and having such a great time for yourself. The chance is going to present itself to you, you're not even going to notice it. Others of you are going to be looking for that chance all the time. Every party you go to, every new girlfriend, every new boyfriend, you're thinking, oh, maybe this is it, maybe now's the time, right? Those of you that are always looking for the chance, the next 4 years are going to be kind of tough for you. Those of you that are really busy and having lots of fun and keeping the whole sex thing aside, the next 4 years are going to be a little easier for you, a little smoother for you. But the promise that we start with is that you're all going to have opportunity. Since we know you're going to have the chance, we need to start to think about what are you going to do. And since what we're going to do is gather the facts, the first thing I'd like for you guys to tell me is what kinds of problems do kids face who have the chance to have sex and they decide no? What kinds of problems do kids face when they choose not to be sexually active? What do you think?
Ridicule from your peers.
Ridicule from their peers. Peer ridicule, okay? What else?
You might feel awkward with your girlfriend.
Okay, so an awkwardness in the relationship. I'm probably going to spell awkward wrong. awkwardness in the relationship. What do you think?
Your partner might break up with you.
Breaking up. Okay. Okay. Anything else? What do you think?
Your partner may feel bad if they think that you're not ready. They might think that you don't love them.
Okay. You'd worry about that, your partner feeling that way? Okay. So you're going to have partner worries. Worry that your partner won't love you.
If an old boyfriend broke up with you because you said no, you might want to say yes this time.
Okay, so you might feel pressure. Very good.
You might tell his friends, and they might make fun of you.
Yeah, made fun of. Okay.
Might regret it and then go ahead and do it the next time.
Because you'd regret that you said no, and so you wouldn't think it through clearly the second time? Okay. I think regret is a natural human emotion. I want to talk about these a little bit. Does anyone have anything else we should write down here before we do that? You came up with a very complete list. This is very good. So you're going to worry about getting made fun of. Right? Now, we talk about peers. Peers, you guys, everyone in this room is each other's peer. Right? Every single one of you. Do you care what every single person in this room thinks about you? No, you don't. You don't care what all of your peer group thinks about you, right? Who do you care about? You care about what your friends think, don't you? The kids that are a little closest to you. Maybe not your very best friends, but maybe like that sort of next circle out. You know, your very best friends you can probably be yourself with, and they're going to accept you any way you are, hopefully. That's who your friends are. But that kind of next circle out of friends, not your most close, but that next group, those are the kids that drive us to impress them. Okay? And they drive us to impress them with things that maybe they're not even doing. But they're putting some pressure on us. Now, most of the places I go, the people who seem to experience the toughest pressure are the guys. The guys seem to put a lot of pressure on each other to be having sex. And in high school, my experience is such that your friends aren't going to put pressure on you to have sex by saying, oh, if you don't have sex, we're not going to be your friend anymore. That isn't how it's going to be. But you're going to have a friend or two who are having sex, or pretending they are anyways. You can't always believe what you hear. Okay? So you're going to come into school one morning, and your friends, one of your friends in your little circle of friends is going to be talking about the big weekend. Right? All the other boys that are listening to him talk feel like, why him and not me? That gives you pressure. It gives you pressure inside. It's not pressure that comes from outside. It's pressure that comes from inside and your desire to fit in. How you manage pressure is a very individual decision. But we each have to decide, now's the time, what will you do when you are in a situation where you feel pressure? Will you make a little joke? That's usually a pretty good thing to do. A joke is a great way to get rid of pressure. You make a little joke. You make a little fun. You do a little teasing. You make the situation light. You draw the attention away from you onto something else. Awkwardness and breaking up. I want to talk about those two together. Awkwardness will happen if you're not clear about the sort of person you are when you get involved with someone in a relationship. If you don't tell, if you're dating someone and you think that they're really terrific and they're really nice, and you're not talking to them at all about what's important to you, you're not talking to them about, you know, there's something I'd like you to know about me. I'm someone who's decided to wait until I'm married to have sex. I hope you will respect that. That's a conversation that you have over hamburgers or at McDonald's. Okay? That's a conversation that you have while you're taking a walk in the woods. That's a conversation that you have on the telephone with each other. That's not a conversation that you have when you're alone in your house and you're hugging and kissing. At that point, you're going to have to just say, hold on, hold on, hold on. We're doing something I'm not planning on doing. But if before you get to that hugging and kissing part, you say, I'm really someone who's taking this slow. I've made a decision for myself that's important to me, who I am, and I'm asking you to respect it. Then you don't get to the place where you get awkward. You don't get to the place where you have to slow things down because they're moving ahead too fast. You don't get to the place where you're really all of a sudden, I haven't thought this through and I have to decide no. That's why I want you to decide now. Because once you know, then you can express this to the people that you care about. And it gives you a couple of great dating advantages to not be sexually active. If you're not sexually active and you let the people you like know that you're not going to be sexually active right from the beginning, guess what? You're only going to date people who are willing not to be sexually active. That gives you a huge advantage over the long run. You're able to date someone who's able to look at their long view of their life instead of their short view. They're able to look at what it's going to be like when they get married and have a family instead of just what it's like today. That forward thinking is a very valuable trait to have in a wife or a husband. Most of the high schools I go to, when I ask the girls particularly, and I want you boys to be real aware of this, when I ask high school-aged girls how many of them would prefer to date boys who don't put pressure on them to have sex, every single girl raises her hand. So rather than you, as a young man, saying to your girlfriend, you know, I'm not going to put any pressure on you to have sex. This is something I'm not going to expect of you. I'm going to respect you more than that. Do you think she's going to feel less loved? Or do you think she's going to feel more loved? She's going to feel more loved. She's going to feel protected. She's going to feel respected. And she's going to feel as if she's with a guy who really knows how to treat a girl well. And that puts you boys in a great advantage. Because then you're with a girl who's going to treat you well too. And you're going to be able to develop a true relationship, not just a sex relationship. So, the problems you'll run into if you're not going to have sex, you worry about breakup, it's not likely to happen. You're more likely to break up in 6 months if you have sex. You're likely to break up in 2 years if you don't have sex. So you're much better off not being sexually active as far as the breakup is concerned. You can manage your partner worries. You can manage the awkwardness. And you want to decide what can you do about that pressure. What kind of little jokes can you make? How can you put things, how can you say things in a way that you're comfortable and that relieves the pressure from you.